Thanks very much, and good morning, everybody from New York, wherever you happen to be. My name is Peter Greenberg. I'm the travel editor for CBS News, and our panel today is called The Future of Tourism in the Green Economy. We might as well just call it The Future of Tourism, and the economy comes later, but we're gonna focus on that. And let me introduce our panelists. She's the Senior Vice President of the World Travel and Tourism Council, Maribel Rodrigues.
How are you?
Our legendary guest, the former UNWTO Secretary General and the former Minister of Tourism of Jordan, among many other titles, Taleb Rifai. Taleb. And the Honorable Nayef.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and the Honorable Nayef Al-Fayez, who is the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities in Jordan. And it's nice to see so many friends this morning on the same screen.
Thank you, Peter.
Yes,
thank you.
So let's start with the elephant in the room, and that is tourism in the green economy was always a function of the economy itself in terms of green and tourism. And it's obviously on the front burner. It was something that people were concerned about. It was something that the WTTC did a lot of research about in basically showing countries and heads of governments that it was a smart investment because consumers and businesses needed to focus on that in order to grow their tourism. So Maribel, let's start with you for a second. The research that WTTC did, it's not enough just to say it's 1 in every 10 jobs or it's 11% of global GDP, but how does the green economy fit in? How does sustainable tourism fit in now, especially as everyone is in the recovery mode of COVID-19?
Well, actually, the companies that are not taking care of it right now are not going to be competitive in the future, because it's not all about what they are doing right now. It's about what the consumer wants, and the consumer is now very demanding in that sense, and is of course understanding the current situation. So we have been talking with different members within our organization, and already before COVID, a lot of them were doing a lot of commitments. We are agreeing with the Paris Agreement to be climate neutral by 2050, and working with UNEP, for example, in plastic. So, but many members are already doing different things when it comes to airlines and prior the crisis. So from the private sector, it's something that together with digitalization and together with the other acts like taking inclusivity, diversity, is all about now working together for the future. But for that, it's very important to have a proper global coordinated agreement and alignment, public and private sector.
But it's interesting. It's the chicken and the egg here. You know that your research will show you that more and more people will make their travel decisions based on the individual destination to the green economy.
Yeah, it's about 56% of our research showing that the consumers are deciding to travel here or there, taking into consideration if the hotel is sustainable, if the destination is taking care of their own visitors, how do they treat their nature. Of course, more and more, it's not going to be the chicken and the egg, it's going to be the consumer forcing us to do that. But the companies have already started, and now more than ever, they will all have to be accelerated. So that's basically what is happening right now. It's a question of, as well, responsibility, not only from companies, from the consumers in general.
Taleb, in all of your work at the UNWTO in trying to educate other governments and other leaders about this, initially I know you got resistance from it because they used the economy to say, well, we can't spend the money there. Then, of course, as Maribel says, it became a real important tool. But in this wake of COVID-19, as budgets are essentially frozen or not being released in any way, shape, or form, or the money's just not there, how do you see the way forward now to be able to maintain the track you were on to begin with, pre-COVID?
Thank you so much.
Answer was, I think, sorry, it was me. That's fine.
That was for Taleb.
No problem, Maribel. Maribel is a wonderful lady. She's been working with us at WTTC for a long period of time. I appreciate her presence with us. I also appreciate the presence of Minister Nayef Al-Fayez. Mr. Fayez, by the way, between his 2 assignments as Minister of Tourism, because he was Minister of Tourism before that, he was Minister of the Environment as well. So he's quite into the green economy, very well. And Peter, I not say anything about you because you're a friend of Jordan anyhow. You're a very good friend of Jordan. I still remember the royal tour you started in Jordan. Thank you so much. Now back to your question. I believe that there is an opportunity that comes out of every crisis. The word crisis and the word opportunity in Chinese language is one word. There is no difference between them at all. And this is an opportunity for us now. And I'll tell you how it is an opportunity. Number one, this crisis has taught us that we have to travel very, very responsibly. You don't travel now for anything, for any purpose. You're very careful in your travel. So you're not going to go travel to areas that are crowded anyhow. So the idea of over-tourism that was so prevalent before will disappear, I'm sure. It's something we had tried to talk governments into, but they were so preoccupied with growth and money, business. They didn't listen to us. Now it's being a demand from the consumer, as Maribel said. It's a consumer that wants this. Now, the other thing is, there is something called the digital nomad. Today, I'm a digital nomad myself. I'm talking to you now from Marbella, south of Spain, where I'm doing my work from here. Now, many, many people are traveling all over the world now to go to places, not just for a day or two or a week. They go there for a month or two or three. They stay long stays. This is going to reduce the number of people going to a certain place. You go to a place where it's clean, where it's safe, where it's enjoyable. You do your work from there. So this is a second very important element that can come to play now here. Having said all of this, I believe that many, many countries now have experienced and seen the other side of the story. For example, I was with the Minister of Kenya, Mr. Balala, that day. He was telling me about how they were able to double their rhino fleet, literally double in the time that people were not there, because people had not come to destinations. We had started to see the good side of that destination, started to see the air cleaner. So people started to feel the difference when there are less people traveling to a certain place and when there's no crowds, when there's a greener economy, greener footprint. So that's something we learned out of this crisis. I don't think we'll go back to what we were. There's a new norm that's happening. And this new norm is going to impose itself on all of us. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, Taleb, I have a follow-up question for you because you mentioned some of the shifts in behavior. Have we gone from destination marketing to lifestyle change, meaning lifestyle and work style decisions going into decisions of making a travel decision as opposed to a vacation?
That's right. Very, very true. Look, some of the norms that were there before are going to change. Now people are talking about the new norm. For example, wearing masks. In China and Korea and Japan, people wore masks before we did. They wore masks even they have a little cold, out of respect. It's a new norm now. In Korea, if you enter any house, you have to take off your shoes outside the door of your house. That's a new thing. We're going to start learning new habits of life. And travel is going to come back very strong, but it will come back in a different way. The digital nomads, for example, it's a new form of traveling. It's the same thing. Instead of having 10 people coming for 1 day each, you have one person coming for 10 days. So that's the same kind of economic impact. Only this is much more interactive. And it's better even for sustainability, because when we talk about the green, we not only talk about the environment, we talk also about the society there. So interacting with the society, living like real local becomes part of what you do there. I believe that what you said is absolutely correct. Yes.
You know, it's interesting to think that only 9 months ago, what was topic A? Over-tourism and sustainable tourism.
That's
and
right.
Thinking about pilot shortages because airlines were growing so large, they were adding new routes every day. We're beyond that now. We've come full circle. And Mr. My question for you is, you know, when I go back to my original days going to Jordan, there were the iconic places you had to see, you know, Petra, Jerash, and of course down in Aqaba. But today, you know, you have a number of nature reserves. You have a number of places that people can immerse themselves in. And as Taleb said, not just for a 30-minute stop on a bus tour, but they really want to get involved. How do you, in terms of your development and your economic development based on sustainable tourism, sell that, if you will, to the public in general?
I guess this question is to me. Yes.
Yes.
Well, definitely. I mean, as my colleagues have just mentioned, sustainability, environment are no longer an option. I think it is something that is demanded by the consumer, and it is consumer driven, which means those who were smart enough a while ago and started are the ones who are going to be gaining this advantage. And also with the changes that we have seen, it's going to be all shifting towards that. For us in Jordan, in the last 40 or so years, we have invested in the nature reserves. When we started, it was about preserving our nature, but then with time, they started turning into an attraction. It started turning into attraction for people to come and enjoy these sites. And as we saw in Jordan, with an increased number of local tourism, we saw that people are moving more towards these nature reserves, which were not the case a while ago, which also shows us that it is an opportunity for us also to start exposing these nature reserves with the idea of how we also keep those as a nature reserve. Now, we don't want them to become the Disneyland of the world. We need to make sure that they are also kept in a way that people can enjoy it. But the balance has to be taken into consideration, to be very frank with you. We have our, let's say, classical attractions that people will want to come to Jordan and see them. And we will tell them, while you're here, you can also enjoy what we have to offer in terms of our ecologies, our nature, our wildlife, our nature reserve that have been invested over the few years. With the integration of local communities, and this is very important. I know, Peter, you have been to many of our places, and you've been to Ghana and other places where you saw the local communities, how we integrate local communities into these systems, and they became an essential part of it, not only in hosting guests, but also in producing products that are related to the area. And this is where we need to build on it, and people and consumers are asking for such products and such locations in their experiences. Yeah, they want to come and enjoy Petra, definitely, but they will also want to be able to integrate with the local communities. And I think this is an opportunity where we can invest, and there is still a lot of opportunities to invest in Jordan and other places in the world.
Mr. Minister, if I can give you a follow-up question, going back to what Taleb was saying about this behavioral shift. Instead of 10 people going to a place for one day, one person going to a place for 10 days. I've never met a minister of tourism who wasn't dealing with a different set of metrics, but the same metrics, if you will. And those different set of metrics were how many visitors are coming, what's their average stay, what's the average spend, how do we increase the numbers? I think we're changing this now. There's a reset going on. So the question is, how do you do the reset and still be economically viable as people are looking to spend, fewer people looking to spend more time and doing it the right way?
Well, I don't want to go away from the same metrics, because we were dealing with this metrics that you mentioned, but in Jordan, we're focusing how do we extend the length of stay. So maybe this is an opportunity for us to say, okay, we need to have less people, but longer stays, so that we make people stay longer in Jordan, enjoy more than Petra. You know, Peter, you've been to Petra. People just come to Jordan for the day, they want to see Petra and leave. And we say this is not what Jordan has to offer. And I think this is an opportunity for us here in Jordan, where we can say, yes, we want to have limited a number of people going to the sites in general, but we want them to stay longer. And even in Petra, we'll say, for example, the Petra is not only the famous Sikh or the famous treasury that people go to. You've been around, you saw it, it's a whole city. So again, that length of stay is actually something that we should take advantage of, and I think it's an opportunity for us to see a shift in the positive way. We have to admit a country like Jordan relies heavily on tourism, and it relies heavily on the income that tourists are spending in the country. And with extending their length of stay, that's an opportunity for them to spend more, and also to diversify their spending, not only in one location, but also maybe in rural areas and smaller areas where also the local community can benefit.
So if you're looking for social distancing, we all head to the Wadi Musa.
Definitely. I mean, Wadi Musa and Ajnoon and so many other places, Wadi Ram and so on. So yes, smaller groups, distance, And people want to enjoy the nature also at the same time. I think people have been distanced for a while. They're eager to travel and they want to enjoy nature. And as I told you, in Jordan, we saw this experience of going to tracks and to go into valleys and going to Wadi Mujib and so on to enjoy the experiences that were not enjoyed before. Before we saw Jordanians wanting to go only to the beach, only want to go to Aqaba to enjoy the sun and sand and the waters of Aqaba. But today, no, they're venturing into new experiences. And I think it's no difference for the local other international tourists.
Maribel, so much of what the WTTC does is research. So much of what you're doing is coming up with the numbers to justify this movement to sustainable tourism. What are you doing now to convince other government leaders that the timing couldn't be better now, not that they planned on it this way, but that the timing couldn't be better now for an investment in sustainable tourism that will get us through, the next 2 or 3 decades?
We are doing a lot of things. The first thing we have been doing is we have a new vice chair focused on sustainability. One of our members is taking the lead to sit together with alongside other leaders and planning for that. That is something we have been doing recently. And we have been doing, of course, different reports like the future of travel that I invite all of you to have a look at and find all the research in environment, wildlife, equality, employment, because we all know how important and the social impact that travel and tourism has within the entire economy. But what we are really doing right now is speaking with the governments, with the G20 governments, to align them to set up together a global international coordinated framework on 12 points. And those 12 points are all related to COVID and beyond, because of course, COVID would go, and now with a very good news, the vaccine, we welcome it and more that will come. But at the same time, maybe we are going to be still going through many different pandemics or situations like the one we are having right now. We are focused on that. It's very important that the government has a proper global alignment in air corridors, what the tests are going to be, when the test needs to be taken, and what is the contact tracing solution that we are going to be using. Of course, we are agnostic on the technology, but yes, we do need to have a tracing of what are our possibilities of being infected are. Of course, us from the private sector, we need to keep on working on being flexible with bookings, with change. We need to provide the insurance because, of course, we need to bring back the confidence of the traveler, because now it's lost. It's lost because they have been seeing the different discussions, the change of policies, and this is not helping at all. So even if we have been sorted the first step of having a vaccine there, which is a light at the end of the tunnel that we, of course, welcome, we need to convince them back. And being sustainable, being conscious, being responsible is really, really going to help them. So we are working from the private sector in the things that we can provide, being aligned, but as well trying to catalyze and support the discussion, and we hope this global framework. We have the possibility, as you know, to present our 12 points at the G20 meeting, led by the Minister Al-Khatib, the Excellency Al-Khatib, within the meeting with the private sector and public sector within the G20 meeting. We were lucky and able to do that, and now we are in the second phase of starting to implement and deliver. So we welcome for the coordinated approach for global problems and global solutions, I would say.
Well, we're running out of time, but I have a couple of really fast last questions, which I can't ignore. And that is, what sustains sustainable tourism is confidence itself, as you just pointed out. But beyond that, nobody gets to go anywhere without airlift. And right now, there's no confidence in the airline sector about going anywhere these days. We have 34 airlines around the world that have already failed, not just Chapter 11 failed, but out of business. More are in a precarious position. So at the very same time that you want people to come and experience things in a responsible way, you first have to get them there. So Minister Al-Fayez, tell me, how are you getting the airlines back?
Well, I'll be very frank with you. This is a challenge. I mean, as you said, airlines have faced the economic crisis also. A lot of them have been under stress and lost a lot of jobs. And for us to be able to bring the airlines back, it's been a tough question. We started, our borders have been reopened a while ago. Airlines are being coming in, but unfortunately, the schedules of the airlines are not sustainable so far. You know, we need to start getting a stable demand where we will see, I think, a comeback for the airlines. And I think there are a lot of sessions that I saw some of them in the World Travel Mart talking about airlines and the importance of airlines. So we realize the importance of airlines. Without them, we will not be able to get our tourists into the countries. But the good news is that the studies have shown that airlines are extremely safe to travel, which means that's something that the consumer doesn't have to worry about. Our jobs now as governments and the tourism industry and the airlines is to work together and see how we will start bringing different airlines from different destinations to our countries.
And the interesting thing will be new routes from airlines that will see this as an opportunity that they weren't seeing as an opportunity before.
I think you know, we were working on low-cost carriers in the last few years, and we saw a lot of airlines coming in and showing interest in Jordan. And I think this is an opportunity also for us to work with them. Now it's too soon to tell. We hear different theories. People say it's going to be short haul and then long hauls. But again, we have to work on a comprehensive approach, see where the opportunities start, and then go on from there. All what we've seen is local tourism, regional tourism, and then international tourism. Even international tourism, I think, is going to be split into two segments, the short haul and then long hauls.
Before we run out of time, I'm assuming that the recovery in travel and tourism will be led by the leisure sector, not by business travel, and an opportunity then to educate governments to educate their visitors as to the importance of sustainable tourism.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Peter. I completely agree with you. Just to follow up on what Minister Fayez said, you know, I used to be in my other life a professor at the university. I used to take my students every semester for 12 days to Petra. Every day there was something new to see. So there is so much that we could spread our bulk in. So that's just to finish what we said before. On the issue of aviation and airlines, because it's a very important one. I believe that airlines are very safe to travel in. The only problem here is the testing. I think we're focusing too much on vaccine and very little on testing. I think testing is very, very important. Testing is what keeps your mind at peace more. You will never get the vaccine to get that fear out of your head unless you test. You have to test very quickly, get the result very quickly and very accurate in testing. That would guarantee you that when you take an airline, because the airline, you know, we have to educate people also on the advantages of being in an aircraft, because the oxygen that circulates within the aircraft is much better than even an oxygen that's in your own home. I don't know if you know this, but many people don't know this. Yeah. It's circulating so much, so good. So I think airlines will have a future, definitely. But as Minister said, not immediately now. We're first starting with domestic tourism, regional tourism, and then we go to international tourism. Long haul is still being feared. And if we don't take the fear out of the heads of the people, we can't rest assured. Another very good example is what Jamaica did. You know, the program of Jamaica Cares. It's building a combination with the private sector, with insurance. They are paying now $40 per person added on the ticket, which is absorbed by the airline now. And every person is insured when you go to a place. Ensured that if you get affected by corona, you will get the right treatment or you can get repatriated home. I mean, working with the private sector has so many avenues. I think Jamaica cares, Jordan can care, the whole world can care as well. Thank you.
Great. We are now out of time. I want to thank Taleb, my good friend, Minister Al-Fayez.
Thank you.
You again. Hope to see you again soon in Jordan. And of course, Maribel, who I think is in London today.
Madrid.
Okay, not far from Taleb. And
not very far, no.
In the meantime,
we're meeting in Seville soon.
We'll throw it back to the moderator. Thanks, everybody.
Very well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.